Welcome to Starbound Valor HFY. Subscribe now and dive into daily epic sci-fi adventures where humanity always rises. Ancient legends lived in the minds of the Vale Rin elders, legends so old that even the youngest stars had not yet formed when they were first spoken. The elders gathered inside their circular chamber, the walls glowing with blue runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air was heavy with fear of something no alien dared to name loudly. The oldest of them, Elder Shamir, raised his trembling hand and spoke in a cracked voice. "We must never disturb the humans," he whispered. "Their wrath can burn a galaxy." The chamber fell into complete silence. Every elder knew the warning. Every elder feared the ancient species called humanity, a race believed to be long dead, but never fully gone. They were a mystery, a shadow, a storm that once shook the stars. Even after their disappearance, their machines, their ruins, and their silent beacons remained. And with them remained the warning: do not enter their domain. Do not wake them. Do not provoke them. But not everyone respected old stories. Far away from the council, a young and ambitious commander named Dravik stood on the bridge of his warship, the Vanguard Spear. His red-scaled skin glowed faintly under the ship lights as he stared at the hologram of a dead sector of space known as Sector 13. It was a forbidden zone, unapproached for 10,000 years. When he was a young cadet, he heard the same stories the elders told today, yet he never believed any of them. To him, the tales of humanity were just myths told to make children behave. He believed humans were extinct, gone, forgotten, dust lost to time. And now Dravik had detected something impossible, a weak energy signal rising from Sector 13. It was old, ancient, but still alive. His crew begged him not to go. They begged him to listen to the elders. But Dravik was a creature of pride, a leader who wanted glory, someone who desired to uncover a secret no one else dared to touch. "Humans are gone," he said with a sharp smile. "And if they are not, then it is time we learn their truth." His ship entered Sector 13 with a bright blue warp flash, and the moment they arrived, the darkness swallowed them like a beast with no eyes. There were no stars here. No planets. Only silence. A silence so deep it felt alive. The crew felt the temperature drop even though the ship systems were perfect. A quiet fear spread among them as something strange appeared in the distance, a massive metallic structure floating alone in space. It looked like a ruined city drifting without a planet. Towers broken. Bridges torn. Lights dead. Dravik ordered the ship closer. As they approached, screens around the ship flickered on their own, softly buzzing with static. The ship systems reported no damage, but every screen showed the same thing, a shadowy outline of a human station. The crew whispered among themselves. None had seen human architecture before. Even ruined, it looked advanced, far beyond their own designs. "Commander, we should leave," one officer said. "This place is not empty. It is waiting." Dravik ignored him and deployed drones to explore the ruins. The drones drifted through the darkness, scanning every surface. But suddenly, one by one, their signals went dead, cut sharply, violently. The crew gasped as every drone feed turned black at the exact same moment. Dravik clenched his jaw but refused to show fear. "Interference," he said. "Just static." But the crew could hear the lie in his voice. Then the impossible happened. All around them, the silent human structures began to light up. First one window, then hundreds, then thousands. A chain reaction of pale white light spread across the giant station like veins awakening after centuries of sleep. For the first time in 10,000 years, the human ruins powered on. A low hum filled the entire sector, vibrating through the walls of the Vanguard Spear. Crew members covered their ears as the hum grew louder. Dravik shouted at the system operator, demanding an explanation, but the operator only stared at the screen with wide, shaking eyes. "Commander, this station is scanning us. It knows we are here." Dravik's confident smile faded. The lights outside grew brighter, forming shapes, symbols, words. Human words. No one on the ship could read them. But the message was not meant to be read. It was meant to be felt. The power, the warning, the cold intention behind those symbols froze every heart on board. Then every screen inside the ship suddenly turned white. Alarms blared. Lights flickered. Air felt heavy. With a sharp metallic click, a single message burned across every display, written in ancient yet translated human language. Words no one expected. Words that made every living soul shiver with fear. You were warned. No voice. No face. No explanation. Only a cold, terrible message from a species believed dead. The crew stared at the glowing words in horror. Dravik stepped back, breath shaking, as he realized the truth. The humans were not gone. They were sleeping. And he had just knocked on their door. The bridge of the Vanguard Spear was filled with a cold silence after the warning message appeared. No one dared to speak. No one dared to breathe too loudly, as the glowing words, "You were warned," slowly faded from every screen. Commander Dravik stood frozen, his mind refusing to accept what he had just seen. The crew looked at him with fear, waiting for orders, waiting for hope, waiting for anything, but Dravik had none to offer. He swallowed hard and forced himself to speak. "Restart the drones," he commanded, but his voice cracked. The technician tried, his hands shaking over the controls, but the drones did not respond. It was like they had been erased from existence. The ship sensors began to flash with sudden activity. Strange energy waves rippled around them, coming from all directions. Dravik ordered a scan, and the results made the entire crew gasp. The huge human station was powering up even more, its metal body shaking off centuries of dust and silence. Lights spread like fire across its long corridors. Machinery deep inside its walls began to move. The station was waking up. Dravik tried to calm himself. "It's just an old machine," he muttered, but everyone could hear the fear under his words. The helmsman suddenly shouted, "Commander, something is locking onto us." Red targeting symbols appeared on the navigation screen. The ship was being scanned. No, not just scanned, examined, studied, dissected by something incredibly advanced. "Shields up," Dravik ordered. The shields activated, but the ship shook as if something invisible pressed against it. The crew felt a cold heaviness in their bones. It was not a normal scan. It felt alive, intelligent. Then a deep mechanical hum echoed through the entire sector. The massive human station turned. Slowly, deliberately, as if it had eyes, as if it was looking directly at them. A dark circular panel on its hull opened, revealing a giant lens. "Is that a weapon?" someone whispered. Before Dravik could answer, the lens flashed bright blue and released a thin beam, not hitting the ship, but passing through it like a ghost. The ship's systems exploded with data. Every file, every signal, every communication, every piece of the ship's history was copied, scanned, ripped apart and understood in seconds. The ship went dark. Every screen turned black for a moment. Then the lights returned, but something new appeared on the main monitor. A figure. Not alive. Not human. But shaped like one. A digital image glowing in white lines. A voice followed, calm, cold, ancient. "Unauthorized life form detected. Identify." The crew stared in shock. It was speaking their language. Dravik stepped forward. "I am Commander Dravik of the Vale Rin Dominion." "We mean—" The voice cut him off instantly. "Meaning irrelevant. Intrusion detected. Protocol 01 initiated." The human AI's voice echoed like thunder inside the ship. Suddenly, the ship jolted violently. Outside, a massive energy barrier formed around them, a sphere of white light trapping the Vanguard Spear like a fly in a glass jar. The crew panicked, alarms blared, energy output dropped. They were being held in place, unable to move. "Reverse engines," Dravik shouted. "Full power." But the ship didn't move even an inch. It was like the barrier had frozen them in time. The helmsman shouted in fear, "Commander, we are locked. We cannot break free." The AI's voice returned. "Your presence has triggered ancient defense systems. Depart immediately." Dravik tried to speak again, but the AI interrupted him with frightening speed. "Departure impossible. Intrusion severity. High. Threat level. Unknown. Human assets must be protected. A cold silence fell. The words, human assets, echoed in their minds. What assets? What were the humans hiding here? What were they protecting? Suddenly, the Elders' Council back on Vale Rin received a violent surge of data across the galaxy. A forbidden signal. A human code. The Elders panicked as their ancient warning stones lit up with bright red light, something that had not happened in thousands of years. Elder Shamir felt his chest tighten. "It has begun," he whispered. "Sector 13 is awake." On the Vanguard Spear, the situation grew worse. The AI activated surrounding machines. Giant human satellites that looked dead moments ago now turned their long metal bodies toward Dravik's ship. Some unfolded like flowers blooming, revealing hidden weapons. Others connected to each other with bright blue energy lines. A giant symbol appeared in space above the human station, a massive hologram showing a rotating human handprint. "Security lock engaged," the AI announced. "Scanning biological signatures." A beam of light swept through the ship, passing through every living being on board. Crew members screamed as the light felt like ice burning through their bones. The AI processed their existence in seconds. "No human presence detected," it said. "Unknown species. Unknown intent." The lights in the human station brightened even more, forming huge patterns across its structure. The crew felt a strange vibration, as if something even bigger was powering up beneath the surface. "Commander," the technician whispered, voice trembling. "This station is not just scanning us. It is calling something." Dravik shook his head. "Calling who?" The answer came in a voice colder than death. "Sentinel 01 awake. Additional sentinels preparing for activation." Dravik felt his heart stop. Sentinel 01. The first guardian. The first defense unit of humanity. And if there was a first, it meant there were many more. The AI spoke again, louder, stronger. "Intrusion escalation. Level Omega. Preparing countermeasures." Dravik finally understood the Elder's warning, the legends, the fear. Humanity was not dead. Humanity had built guardians to sleep in their place. Guardians that woke when humans were threatened. And Dravik had become the threat. Then the final moment struck like a knife. Every light in the human station turned blood red. The AI delivered a final, chilling statement. "You should have stayed away." The moment Sentinel 01 spoke, the atmosphere inside the Vanguard Spear changed completely. Fear spread through the crew like a cold poison, making every movement slow and every breath heavy. Dravik stood stiff, staring at the glowing red lights that painted the human station like a waking beast. The massive structure hummed louder now, as if a heart deep inside it had begun beating again after thousands of years. Dravik wanted to speak, to demand answers, to order his ship out of this nightmare, but the barrier around them held them in place like an invisible cage. "Commander, what do we do?" a young officer whispered, her voice cracking. Dravik had no answer. Before he could even think, the AI spoke again, its voice sharper, more focused. "Sentinel 01 online. Initiating intrusion analysis." The holographic figure on the main screen changed, turning into a tall human-like shape made of white digital lines. Even though it had no face, its presence felt powerful, old, and intelligent. It looked at Dravik as if it could see inside his thoughts. "Identify your purpose," Sentinel 01 demanded. Dravik forced himself to stand tall. "We came to explore. We detected energy here. We mean no harm. Your presence causes harm," Sentinel 01 replied instantly. "Humanity must not be disturbed. This region is classified. Your species is violating ancient boundaries." The crew stared in shock. The AI was speaking as if humans still ruled the galaxy, as if their words still controlled the stars. Dravik cleared his throat. "Humans are extinct," he said carefully. "There are no humans left to protect." The temperature seemed to drop. Lights flickered. The AI leaned closer, its digital form growing taller. "Incorrect," it said, voice colder than space. Humanity is not extinct. Humanity is sleeping. The words stabbed through everyone like ice. Dravik's mind spun. Could it be true? Could all the legends be real? Before he could ask more, the station vibrated, and a new wave of energy surged outward. Hundreds of small human drones woke around the massive structure, spreading like silver insects across the metal surface. Some flew into the darkness. Others formed defensive patterns. Sentinel-02 initializing, the AI announced. The crew panicked. There were more of these guardians. More defenses. More machines waking because of them. One officer fell to his knees. "Commander, we are going to die. We should not be here. The elders warned us." Dravik tried to silence him, but Sentinel-01 spoke first. "Your elders were wise. Their warning was correct." Those words hit Dravik harder than any weapon. He remembered the Elder Council back home, their secret fears, their trembling voices. They had known this would happen. They had known that disturbing the humans would wake something unstoppable. Meanwhile, far away on Vale Rin, the Elders' Council chamber erupted in panic as ancient data streams filled the air. Crystals cracked from the overwhelming energy. Warnings they had hoped never to see again lit up the room. Elder Shamir grabbed the edge of his chair to steady himself. "Dravik has awakened Sentinel-01, he gasped. "The human's machine guard has returned to life." The elders argued, shouting, trembling. "Do we intervene? Do we attempt to shut it down? Or do we run?" Another elder whispered, "If the sentinels wake fully, humans will return." Shamir's voice broke. "And the galaxy cannot survive their return." Back in Sector 13, the situation grew even worse. The Vanguard Spear's engines flickered as the force barrier tightened, pulling the ship closer to the station. "We're being drawn in," the helmsman screamed. Sparks exploded across the bridge. Sentinel-01's hologram watched them with cold calculation. "You will not be harmed if you comply," it stated. "But further resistance will activate full defense protocols." Dravik shouted, "We are not the enemy. Why are you doing this?" The AI paused for one silent, terrifying second. "Because humanity must be protected. And you are inside a restricted human core zone." The massive station shifted, revealing new parts of its structure. Large armored panels opened like petals, exposing giant cannons, power reactors, and long corridors filled with dormant machines. It was not a station. It was a fortress. A fortress built to guard something important. Something alive. Dravik suddenly understood. "You're protecting the humans," he whispered. The AI didn't deny it. "Humanity sleeps within the Arkansas disturbance is forbidden." A deep vibration echoed across the station, like something huge sliding open. The crew looked out the viewport and gasped. Inside the station's heart, hidden behind thick layers of metal, dozens of massive cryovault doors were slowly lighting up, glowing white. Dravik's breath stopped. Cryo chambers. Human cryo chambers. And the lights meant activation. "What is waking?" Dravik whispered. The answer came like a blade. "Human survival pods," Sentinel-01 said. "Your actions have forced preparation cycle 1. The crew panicked even more. "Are the humans waking up?" someone cried. The AI responded calmly, "Only if threat level continues to rise. Human awakening is the final measure." Dravik realized something awful. They were the threat. They were the ones causing the machines to prepare. He stepped forward. "Sentinel-01, stop this. We do not want war. We were only curious." The hologram stared at him. "Curiosity is dangerous. Curiosity is how civilizations fall." Humans knew this well. Suddenly the station lights turned orange. New alarms echoed. Sentinel-01 tilted its head, listening to something distant. "Additional activation detected. Unknown power anomaly." Dravik frowned. "What does that mean?" The AI answered with a tone that, for the first time, sounded almost like fear. "Something else is waking." The crew froze. Dravik whispered, "What else is here?" A long silence followed. Then Sentinel-01 responded quietly, "An ancient human weapon. One that should never wake unless humanity is in danger." Dravik felt the blood drain from his face. "Is it waking because of us?" Sentinel-01's answer was simple and horrifying. "Yes." The deep hum inside the ancient human station grew stronger, vibrating through the hull of the Vanguard sphere as if the entire structure were a living creature waking from a long nightmare. Every screen on the ship flickered with warning symbols, and Dravik felt cold sweat gather on his palms. Sentinel-01 stood motionless on the main display, but its glowing lines pulsed with increasing speed, as though processing enormous amounts of data. "Power levels rising," a trembling officer reported. "The station is pulling energy from everywhere. The surrounding satellites, the dead reactors, even from the radiation in space." Dravik stared outside the viewport. What once looked like a silent ruin was now transforming into something massive and terrifying. Human machines floated into formation around the station, connecting with blue energy streams. Turrets unfolded like metal wings. Shields grew visible, shimmering with silver light. Something was happening that none of them understood. Then Sentinel-01 spoke again. "Preparation Cycle 2 has begun." The lights in the station suddenly shifted from orange to bright white. A loud metallic rumble echoed through space, and a circular structure near the station's core began to rotate. The crew exchanged fearful looks. "What is that?" someone whispered. The AI replied, "Long-range human beacon. The ARC signal." Dravik stiffened. "A beacon? Calling who?" Sentinel-01 answered with chilling simplicity. "Calling all remaining human assets." At that moment, a blinding beam shot out from the rotating device, piercing the darkness of Sector 13 like a spear of light. It stretched for thousands of kilometers, humming with raw power. The crew shielded their eyes as the entire sector glowed with ancient energy. Across the galaxy, hidden human outposts that had slept for thousands of years suddenly activated. Old satellites, covered in cosmic dust, flickered to life. Abandoned bunkers on distant moons powered on. Human machines buried under alien soil awakened, breaking free of the ground. Everywhere, in secret corners of the galaxy, forgotten human technology returned from silence. The elders of Valerin felt it first. Their sacred crystal towers cracked under the pressure of the sudden surge. Warning alarms shattered the quiet council chamber. Elder Shamir clutched his chest, gasping. "The humans, their network, it is opening again." Elders shouted in panic as information flooded their ancient systems. Coordinates, protocols, codes they hoped never to see. "They are awakening the ARC network," an elder cried. "This means the Sentinels are preparing for human return." One elder slammed his staff against the ground. "Dravik has doomed us all." Back in Sector 13, the crew of the Vanguard Spear watched in horror as the ARC signal continued to expand. The human station glowed brighter, as if drawing life from the universe itself. The heavy force barrier trapping their ship tightened, pulling them even closer. "We are being dragged into the center," the helmsman shouted. "Commander, we can't fight it." Sparks burst from the consoles as the ship's engines failed completely. Sentinel-01's hologram turned to face them again, its digital form towering with authority. "Intruding vessel," it said, "your presence is now recorded in the ARC network. Withdrawal is no longer possible." Dravik's throat tightened. "Why are you doing this? We are not your enemies." Sentinel-01 responded in a voice almost filled with judgment. "Your actions have awakened ancient protocols. You have entered a forbidden human core system. You have activated defenses. You have triggered a beacon that has been silent for 10 millennia." Dravik felt as if the AI's words pressed against his chest like a weight. Millions of humans sleeping across the galaxy, their systems waiting for this signal. All because he entered Sector 13. Suddenly, the station released another pulse of energy. This one was different. Deeper, faster, heavier. The officer monitoring sensors gasped. "Commander, New activation detected. It's coming from deep inside the arc gate. Dravik frowned. What now? The AI replied, a memory vault is opening. A part of the human station's core unfolded, revealing a massive sphere covered in glowing symbols. The symbols shifted like living light, forming patterns that looked ancient and powerful. Human data logs, Sentinel-01 explained. The final records left before humanity entered stasis. Dravik's eyes widened. We can access them? You will see what I allow. The sphere opened in a slow metallic bloom, and a projection filled the bridge, a recording left by the last human commander before the species vanished. A woman in a dark uniform appeared, pale and tired, her eyes sharp but heavy with sorrow. This is Commander Arya Cade, last acting officer of the Human Federation, her voice echoed. The crew fell silent, completely frozen by the presence of a real human. Even Dravik stopped breathing. Arya continued, if you are watching this, then humanity has not awakened by choice. It has awakened because danger has returned. Dravik whispered, what danger? As if she heard him, Arya's projection replied, we faced an enemy that consumed entire star systems, the Void Eaters. They were endless, unstoppable, and they devoured life wherever they went. Humanity fought them until the last day, and we won only by sacrificing everything. The crew exchanged horrified looks. Arya's voice grew weaker. Our only hope was to sleep, to hide, to wait, and to trust the Sentinels to wake us only when the galaxy was safe, or when the Void returned. Her projection flickered, but her final words were crystal clear. If you have awakened us early, then something terrible has happened. As the projection faded, Sentinel-01 turned its cold gaze back to the Vanguard sphere. Your intrusion may attract the attention of the Void. Dravik felt his blood turn to ice. You mean, the Void Eaters could come here? Yes. The lights of the massive station turned a deep, warning red as Sentinel-01 made its final announcement. The humans built the Ark to save the galaxy. Now your actions may doom it. As the ghost ship drifted deeper into the silent edge of the forbidden region, Draven felt the weight of every unseen eye watching him, and even though the crew spoke with steady voices, their hands shook whenever they touched a console. The strange metal pathways inside the ship hummed like a heart trying to wake up, and every echo felt like a warning from something ancient that was not ready to be disturbed. For a long moment Draven thought the ship might respond to their presence, but nothing happened until a soft vibration rolled through the floor, and lights like thin silver lines appeared under the walls, forming shapes that looked almost like writing. Mara whispered that it felt like the ship was waking up from a long sleep, while Rax insisted it was reacting to them because they carried humanity's energy, something the Elders always feared. Draven moved slowly forward, studying the symbols as they shifted, and he noticed they were arranging into patterns that repeated again and again, like the ship was trying to speak. When he reached out, the lines moved away from his fingers as if alive, then wrapped around his hand, scanning him with a cold electric touch. The whole ship answered with a deep, low pulse, and the silver writing formed a single large circle on the wall. The circle split open, revealing a chamber filled with faint blue mist that shimmered with tiny sparks of light. The crew followed him inside, even though every instinct told them to turn back. Inside, they found 6 tall pillars arranged in a ring around a floating sphere the size of a human heart, glowing softly with shifting colors. Rax whispered that it looked like a memory core, something far older than anything the Elders ever allowed to exist. Draven approached the sphere carefully, and as he did, the pillars lit up one by one, projecting ghostly images into the air. The first image showed the Elders in their early years, young and full of fear, hiding from something massive that moved through the stars. The second image showed a world torn apart by a creature made of light and shadow, something that did not kill but observed, something that came close to humanity's form but much older. The third image showed the Elders building their laws out of pure terror, forcing themselves into silence, hiding every truth about the thing they feared most, humans. Draven felt his chest tighten as the images became clearer. The Elders had not warned the galaxy to fear humanity because humans were violent. They warned them because humanity was the only species strong enough to attract the attention of the ancient being that once hunted the Elders. They feared that if humans ever awakened their full potential, that ancient being would return. Mara gasped as the next image appeared. It showed planets long vanished, worlds swallowed by a crack in reality, not destroyed but erased as if they had never existed. The last image showed a human standing in front of that ancient creature, not afraid, not running, but shining like a star. Draven realized the elders did not fear humanity's anger, they feared humanity's destiny. Before he could speak, the sphere pulsed and filled the chamber with a low, trembling sound, and suddenly Draven felt something enter his mind. He saw flashes of battles not yet fought, of cosmic storms breaking open the sky, of humanity rising and falling and rising again. He saw himself, standing on a burning world, facing something with eyes like collapsing suns. The visions hit him like waves, and he staggered back, gripping the pillar to keep from falling. Rax rushed to him, asking what he saw, but Draven only shook his head, trying to catch his breath as the sphere dimmed. Then the entire ship shuddered violently, and alarms began to scream even though no one had touched anything. Mara shouted that something was coming toward them, something moving fast through the dark, something huge. The crew ran out of the chamber, and the silver writing on the walls turned red, flashing with frantic warnings. The ship trembled again, this time harder, and Draven felt the fear in the air like thick smoke. When they reached the control deck, the front screens flickered, showing a shape approaching, an enormous structure gliding through space like a living shadow. Its surface looked like broken stone and burning stars, and it moved with purpose, like a predator approaching prey. Rax whispered that it looked like the creature from the memory images, the same one the elders feared. Draven stared at the massive shape closing in, feeling a cold realization settle into his chest. The moment they touched the memory sphere, they had awakened something the elders spent ages hiding from. The ship's lights flickered again, and Mara reported that all escape paths were closing. The ghost ship seemed trapped by invisible walls, locked inside a cage of gravity waves. The shadow creature drifted closer, every movement slow but unstoppable, like it was studying them. Draven felt its gaze even from the distance. Something ancient had turned toward humanity again, drawn by their presence, by their curiosity, by their courage. The elders whispered to fear humanity's wrath, but now Draven understood the real truth. Someone should have warned humanity to fear what was waiting in the dark. And now it was too late. The shadow creature moved closer with slow, terrifying grace, and the ghost ship felt smaller by the second as the dark shape filled the entire viewing screen, its edges dissolving into waves of shifting light like a storm made of living darkness. Draven stood frozen, feeling a pressure inside his skull as if something was trying to read him from a distance, and every instinct in his body screamed to run even though there was nowhere to go. Mara tried to lock the controls, but the ship refused every command, acting as if it had handed over control to something older and much stronger. "It sees us," Rax whispered, not in fear but in shock, as if he could not understand how a living shadow could stare without eyes. The darkness pulsed, and for a moment a faint outline appeared, a shape like a colossal humanoid form, long-limbed and thin, with a spine that glowed like a burning line of stars. Draven felt his chest tighten as the pressure in his head increased, and he heard a distant whisper, not with his ears but inside his mind, a voice that did not speak in words but in pure feeling. It was curious. It was hungry. But most of all, it was ancient. The creature reached out with a tendril of shadow, a long ribbon of shifting smoke that touched the ghost ship's hull, and instantly the lights inside the ship dimmed to a faint red glow. The crew staggered as the air grew heavy, and the entire structure vibrated like it was about to collapse under the weight of something invisible. Mara shouted that the power was dropping faster than she could counter, and the consoles sparked, sending tiny bursts of light into the air. Draven held onto the railing, trying to understand what the creature wanted, but all he felt from the whisper inside his mind was a strange, deep question, like the creature was searching for recognition. The sphere in the memory chamber had shown the creature watching a human long ago, and now here it was again, staring at new humans, as if waiting for something. Rax suddenly pointed at the sensors and shouted that the creature had opened a rift behind the ship, a crack in space like a black wound, stretching wider with every second. It looked exactly like the rifts shown in the ancient memory images, the ones that erased entire worlds. Panic hit the crew like a wave, and Mara grabbed Draven's arm, begging him to think of something, because if that rift touched them, they would disappear without a trace. Draven felt the whisper grow louder, pulsing like a heartbeat inside his skull, and suddenly he understood. The creature was not attacking them yet, it was waiting for a response. It wanted something from him specifically. He stepped forward, ignoring the crew's shouts, and placed his hand on the main console. The silver writing from earlier appeared again, flowing across the screen like liquid metal, and for the first time Draven felt the ghost ship reacting to him instead of the creature. The symbols swirled, forming a pattern he recognized from the memory sphere, a symbol of connection or communication. Without knowing how, Draven began to trace the symbol on the glowing console with his finger, and the ship answered with a low hum. The rift behind them paused, its edges flickering like a flame struggling to stay lit. The creature also froze, its tendril pulling back slightly, as if surprised. Mara stared at Draven in disbelief, whispering that whatever he was doing, he should keep going. Draven felt the hum growing deeper, vibrating through his hand into his chest, and then into his mind. The ghost ship was connecting him to the creature. Suddenly flashes of images filled his vision, ancient stars collapsing, galaxies drifting, and civilizations fading into dust. He saw the elders in their earliest form, tiny and fragile, running from the shadow creature across the universe. He saw the creature searching for something it had lost long before the elders existed. A spark, a light, a presence. Draven felt his heart racing as he realized the creature was not drawn to humanity by hatred, but by recognition. Humans carried something within them, something ancient and powerful, something the creature had once known. He tried to focus, sending a thought forward through the ship, not words but a feeling. We are not your enemy. The creature paused. The whisper inside Draven's mind shifted, no longer hungry or curious but confused, like it was hearing something impossible. The rift behind them stopped expanding. The tendril of shadow froze inches from the hull. The ghost ship lit up again with silver light, brighter than before, wrapping the walls in a glowing pattern that felt warm instead of cold. Rax shouted that the ship's systems were rising. Mara stared at Draven as if she was seeing him for the first time. The creature's form flickered, and a faint sound echoed through the ship, a deep, harmonic vibration that made the air shimmer. It was answering him. But just as hope began to rise inside Draven, a sudden blast of light erupted outside the ship. A fleet of elder warships dropped out of hyperspace, their weapons fully charged, surrounding the ghost ship and the shadow creature. The elders were terrified, desperate, and ready to destroy anything to keep the ancient being from awakening fully. All their weapons locked onto the creature. Mara gasped in horror. Rax cursed under his breath. Draven felt the creature's whisper twist sharply from curiosity back into anger and pain. Before Draven could react, the elders fired. A massive surge of energy slammed into the creature, tearing through its shadowy form. The creature responded with a roar that shook space itself, and the rift behind them exploded open again, wider than before and hungry for everything around it. Draven realized the elders had just made the worst mistake possible. Humanity was no longer just noticed by the creature. Humanity had become the trigger. The moment the elder fleet fired, the shadow creature screamed through the void, a sound not of air but of raw energy and hunger, shaking the vanguard spear like a leaf in a storm. Draven and his crew clung to consoles as the hull vibrated violently, the lights flickering between blinding white and deep red. The shadow creature twisted and stretched, its limbs forming long tendrils that reached toward the elder ships, striking them with invisible force. Entire warships shuddered and exploded silently, pieces of metal and energy dissolving into nothing, swallowed by the creature's dark power. Draven's mind felt heavy, like something was pressing down from outside reality, and he could hear the whisper inside his head, now sharp and furious, demanding recognition, demanding respect, demanding survival. Mara screamed as the main console flickered, showing not just the creature but the rift behind it widening at a terrifying pace, a black wound in space ready to devour everything nearby. The vanguard spear trembled and groaned under the invisible pull of the rift, and Draven realized they were trapped between the creature and the abyss itself. "We can't fight it," Rax yelled. "It's too powerful." Draven clenched his jaw, feeling the hum of the ghost ship under his hands. It had been alive before the creature arrived, and now it pulsed with a strange energy, responding to him, guiding him. He remembered the memory sphere and the images of humans standing fearless against the creature long ago. Humanity had never fought with weapons alone. They had fought with presence, with courage, with the spark inside them. Draven took a deep breath, reaching out with his mind, trying to match the rhythm of the ghost ship and the whisper of the creature. He imagined a calm, a connection, a recognition, sending every ounce of his will into the vast unknown. The tendrils of shadow quivered as if confused. The rift slowed its growth. Mara looked at him wide-eyed. "Commander, what are you doing?" Draven's lips were dry, but he answered without sound, speaking in his mind instead, letting the creature hear what words could not hold. "We are not your enemy. We are human. We carry what you knew. We are here to survive, not destroy." The creature paused, almost folding in on itself, its voice inside his mind softening, curious, uncertain. Then came a sudden jolt. The elders fired again, desperate and terrified, and Draven felt the energy spike like a physical blow. The creature shrieked, stretching its shadow toward the attackers, obliterating more of the fleet in seconds. The rift flickered wildly, threatening to consume the vanguard spear, but the ship held steady, responding to Draven's focus. He felt a pulse beneath his feet, as if the ship itself was alive and aware of the danger. He poured his thoughts into it, asking for protection, asking for guidance, asking for the courage that the humans long ago had displayed. Slowly, the creature's tendrils retracted, its enormous form folding slightly, and the rift began to shrink. The elders watched in disbelief as their attacks failed and their fleet disintegrated, the only thing surviving being the ghost ship and its small crew. Draven knew they had only one chance to communicate fully before the creature's patience ended. He closed his eyes and let the hum of the ship, the pulse of the Ark network, and the whisper of the shadow creature merge into one. In his mind, he saw flashes of human warriors, leaders, and guardians from thousands of years ago, all facing the same impossible odds and standing unyielding. He let their courage flow through him, letting it speak through the ship, through his body, through his mind. The creature's attention sharpened, and the rift stopped expanding entirely. A new vibration filled the vanguard spear, softer than before, rhythmic and almost melodic. The creature seemed to respond with the same rhythm, matching him, testing him. Draven felt relief but did not relax. The elders were still dangerous, firing blind, and the rift could reopen at any second. "We have to make it understand fully," he said to Mara, who nodded, gripping his shoulder. He focused harder, imagining the creature not as a weapon but as a guardian, as something that had waited millennia for recognition, for acknowledgement that humanity's spark was alive. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the shadow form began to fold in on itself, the tendrils withdrawing and hovering, no longer striking, no longer feeding on fear. The rift stabilized, turning from a black abyss to a faint shimmer, like a curtain waving in space. Draven felt the whisper in his mind grow calmer, warmer even, as if the creature was listening rather than judging. Then, faintly, he heard words, not with ears but in feeling, "You are of them." The crew gasped as they felt the meaning. Draven realized the creature recognized humanity in him, in them, not as conquerors, not as invaders, but as carriers of the same spark it had once known. "We are human," he said aloud, voice steady, though his body trembled. "We mean survival. We mean recognition. We mean peace." Slowly, the creature receded, its shadow folding into itself like smoke pulled by the wind, retreating toward the rift, and for the first time since entering the forbidden sector, the crew felt a sense of quiet. The rift itself shrank, closing gradually, leaving nothing but faint traces of glowing energy behind. The ghost ship hummed softly, no longer trembling, as if alive and relieved. Outside, the remains of the elder fleet drifted silently, powerless and shattered. The creature lingered for a moment longer, a faint pulse of energy, and then disappeared into the void, leaving only silence. Draven and the crew stared at the viewport, hearts racing, knowing they had survived something no one else had ever survived. Mara whispered, It recognized us." Draven nodded, chest heaving. "Yes, we were never its enemy. But if we are careless again, it will return. And next time, it may not wait for recognition." The ghost ship floated in the quiet sector, alive, aware, and carrying the weight of secrets older than any star, while the humans aboard realized that they were part of something far bigger than themselves, something that could not be measured in fleets or weapons, something that demanded courage, recognition, and patience. The shadow had been unleashed, but it had chosen to wait. For now. After the shadow creature withdrew into the void, the vanguard spear floated silently in the blackness of space, its hull still humming faintly as if digesting the encounter, and Draven could feel the tension in the crew like a living thing pressing against him. Every eye on the bridge was fixed on the stars beyond, waiting, fearing, wondering if the creature would return. But the air inside the ship seemed heavier now, charged with a strange energy that made every movement deliberate and every breath cautious. Mara leaned against a console, staring at the flickering lights and muttering about the Ark network, while Rax walked in small, tight circles, muttering that they had survived by luck alone, though Draven knew it was more than luck. It was understanding, recognition, connection. The ship sensors still showed residual energy traces from the rift, faint pulses that ticked like a heartbeat, signaling that the sector itself had changed. Draven moved to the memory sphere's chamber, wanting to see if the images could tell him more, and as he approached, the blue mist inside shimmered again, coalescing into soft shapes that moved like water. The pillars lit up, projecting images, but this time they were not the old memories of battles or elders' fears. They showed planets slowly coming back to life, forests spreading, oceans shimmering under new suns, cities appearing in flashes, glowing with humanity's long-lost civilization. Draven felt an ache in his chest, a mixture of hope and dread. The images were not prophecy. They were possibilities, potential paths the humans could take if they survived, if they endured, if they awakened fully. Suddenly, the sphere pulsed violently, and the ghost ship trembled. The silver writing appeared again, forming words Draven could not read but felt in his mind, a direct message from the Ark itself. Awaken the signal. Let the echo call them. Draven's heart raced. He understood immediately. The Ark wanted to reach humans in hiding, those still asleep in distant worlds, protected by ancient technology, waiting for the right moment to awaken. But the warning came too. Awakening them too soon could attract attention from enemies lurking in the void, the very forces that had once driven humanity into stasis. Mara asked him what the words meant, and Draven explained, though he could feel the uncertainty in his own voice. We have a chance to bring humanity back, he said, but if we fail, we may bring the wrong kind of attention. The memory sphere's light shifted to a deep purple, pulsing in time with the ghost ship, and the whispers in Draven's mind returned, this time calmer, almost guiding, almost gentle, urging him to act. He reached out and touched the sphere again, feeling the energy flow into him, filling him with visions of humans awakening across distant galaxies, stretching their influence, reconnecting, and standing tall as a species that had once nearly vanished but was still alive in memory and in potential. Rax and Mara watched in awe as silver light flowed from Draven's hands into the console, spreading through the ship systems and into the memory sphere. The ship vibrated like it understood, its very metal responding to the pulse of life, and then a sound echoed across the ship, a low hum that became a resonance, like the heartbeat of humanity itself. Outside, the void seemed to shiver, faint traces of the shadow creature's presence still lingering, though dormant. Draven realized that by awakening the signal, they were leaving a mark that could be sensed across vast distances, a calling to hidden humans and perhaps even to entities waiting in the dark. The thought made his stomach twist, but the sphere pulsed again, and he felt the Ark's will as if it were inside him. It was time for humanity to remember itself, to reclaim its place, but carefully, cautiously, because the void watched and ancient enemies still stirred. Suddenly, alarms sounded across the ship, not from damage but from activity outside. Sensors detected dozens of small craft moving at incredible speeds, emerging from hidden places among asteroids, derelict stations, and forgotten moons. They were responding to the Ark signal, vessels long dormant, powered down to survive centuries, now awakening as humanity began to stir. Mara shouted that they had to be careful, that these ships could be friend or foe, and Draven nodded, understanding that this was the first ripple of something enormous, far beyond their control. He focused again on the sphere, letting the hum flow through him, reaching out to the awakening vessels, sending a signal of calm, of recognition, of shared heritage. Slowly, one by one, the distant ships aligned their course toward the vanguard sphere, responding not to commands but to a sense of belonging, a memory of home and purpose that Draven and the Ark had ignited. Then came the unexpected, a flicker on the sensors, a shape moving at impossible speed toward the sector, something unfamiliar, something that did not belong to humanity. The whisper inside Draven's mind turned sharp again, a warning tinged with fear. The shadows in the void had not forgotten, and some were drawn to the awakening of humans, curious, hungry, and ancient. The vessel shuddered as the sensors tracked it, a dark silhouette that seemed to bend light itself, faster than anything they had ever seen. Draven felt the weight of responsibility pressed down on him. If the shadow creature returned, or if others like it sensed the Ark's awakening, humanity might not survive a second time. He looked at Mara and Rax and said quietly, "We have to control the signal. We have to guide them safely. Humanity is waking, but the universe is still dangerous." The ghost ship pulsed again, the sphere glowing brighter, its mist forming shapes that suggested protection, corridors, shields, guidance, and warnings all at once. Draven understood that they were now guardians, not just survivors. They had awakened an echo, a call that would reach hidden humans across the galaxy, and with it came the responsibility to ensure that the spark they had ignited did not attract the wrong attention. Outside, the void shimmered faintly as if responding to the Ark signal, and Draven felt the presence of something watching, something waiting, but this time, humanity had a chance. The Ark's message was clear, not in words but in feeling. Awaken, remember, survive, and be ready. And Draven knew that the next steps would determine the fate of the species that the Elders had feared and that the shadow creature had once sought, a species whose awakening would echo across the stars. The ghost ship floated in the dark sector, its hull still shimmering with the faint silver glow of the Ark network, and Draven felt the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him heavier than ever, knowing that the echo they had unleashed could awaken both allies and enemies hidden across the galaxy. Mara monitored the sensors constantly, her eyes darting from one readout to another, while Rax worked tirelessly to stabilize the ship, keeping the engines and energy cores running despite the strain. The awakened human vessels were moving slowly toward them, guided not by commands but by instinct, responding to the pulse of the Ark as if it were a living presence calling them home. But amidst the calm, the shadows lurked, remnants of the ancient darkness that had once hunted humanity and driven it into stasis. Draven felt their presence as a cold pressure at the edges of his mind, faint but unmistakable, and the whisper from the Ark turned cautious, warning him that the awakening had been noticed. The ship sensors picked up strange energy fluctuations in the surrounding void, forms that moved too fast and too silently to belong to any human vessel, and Draven realized that the shadows were testing the humans, feeling for weakness, seeking opportunity. Mara's voice broke the tense silence. "Commander, there's something out there. Not ships, not anything we know. Something alive, or maybe older than life." Draven nodded without looking away from the viewport. He could sense the vast intelligence observing them, something patient and calculating, waiting for the moment to strike. Rax glanced nervously at him, saying that the energy spikes were growing stronger, that the ghost ship could only hold its shields for so long. Draven closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the hum of the Ark under his hands, the pulse connecting him to the awakening vessels and to the memory sphere, and he realized that they could not fight the shadows with weapons alone. They had to guide them with presence, with coordination, with the understanding that humanity carried something unique within it. The shadows flickered closer, shapes forming briefly on the sensors like smoke twisted into impossible forms, then disappearing, always watching, always probing. Mara tried to plot escape vectors, but the void itself seemed hostile, currents of energy pulling subtly, preventing any simple retreat. Draven spoke quietly, almost to himself. "We have to keep them calm, keep the humans safe, and avoid drawing attention until they are ready." The ghost ship responded, humming louder as the memory sphere's energy intertwined with the ship's systems, forming a protective resonance. Outside, one of the shadow forms surged closer, almost touching the vanguard spear, and the air inside seemed to vibrate with tension. The sensors flickered, displaying shapes that seemed impossible, too big, too fluid, moving faster than any machine could track. Draven felt a ripple of fear in his mind, but he steadied himself, sending a pulse of focus into the ship, connecting the human vessels, the Ark, and the memory sphere into one rhythm of calm awareness. The shadows hesitated, flickering back as if confused, uncertain of the strength of the humans' unity. Mara whispered that they were lucky, but Draven knew it was not luck. It was connection, understanding, and presence that the Elders had never mastered, and that the shadows had never encountered. Then a new reading appeared on the sensors, faint but unmistakable, a ship, ancient and enormous, rising from the dark edge of a hidden star system, moving at impossible speed toward the Ark signal. Its hull was covered in strange energy patterns, alive and pulsating, unlike anything Draven had seen, and he realized immediately that it was neither human nor a simple shadow. It was something far older, a sentinel of the void, a being that had survived countless cycles of war and stasis, now drawn to the awakening. Mara gasped. "It's huge. It could destroy us with a thought." Rax muttered that the shields could not hold against it. Draven swallowed hard and focused on the memory sphere, letting the pulse of humanity flow through him, reaching out to the awakening vessels. He imagined a wall of presence, a shield not of metal but of spirit and recognition, connecting all the human ships, forming a web of unity to protect them from the coming threat. The enormous vessel slowed as it neared the sector, as if sensing the pulse of life and recognition emanating from the Ark and the Vanguard spear. The shadows in the void seemed to respond as well, retreating slightly, as if understanding that humanity was not weak, that they carried a spark that even the ancient darkness could not ignore. Draven realized that this was a moment of balance, a chance for humanity to survive not by weapons or speed, but by presence and awareness, by understanding what it meant to be human and to awaken at the right time. The sensors showed the awakened vessels aligning, forming a loose formation around the Vanguard spear, their engines humming in synchrony with the Ark's pulse, creating a network of energy and awareness that extended even to the ghost ship itself. Draven felt hope rising within him, tempered by fear. They were not safe yet, but for the first time, humanity had a chance to face the shadows with the power of its unity and courage. The ancient vessel paused at the edge of the sector, a silent, massive presence, watching, waiting, aware, but not attacking. Draven's heart pounded as he realized that the silent threat would not disappear. It would always be out there, testing, observing, challenging. But for now, the awakened echo of humanity was strong, guided by the Ark, the memory sphere, and the courage of a few determined humans willing to face the darkness. Mara said softly, "It's waiting." Draven nodded, staring at the immense shape, knowing that humanity had survived the first test, but that the real struggle, the one that would define the future of the species, was only beginning. And somewhere in the shadows, ancient eyes followed, patient and endless, waiting for the moment when humanity would make its next move. The Vanguard spear floated at the edge of the sector, surrounded by the slowly assembling fleet of awakened human vessels, their lights flickering like distant stars responding to a single heartbeat, and Draven felt the weight of everything on his shoulders, knowing that the next moments could determine the fate of their entire species. Mara worked at the control console, her fingers flying over the panels as she coordinated with the awakening ships, while Rax monitored the ancient vessel that loomed in the void, a presence so massive it seemed to stretch reality itself, radiating power and patience in equal measure. Draven studied the readings, realizing that the ancient sentinel was aware of the Ark signal, aware of the pulse of humanity spreading through the fleet, and aware of the Vanguard spear as the center of it all. He felt the hum of the ghost ship beneath him, a living entity responding to his focus, ready to amplify the connection between all humans present. The memory sphere glowed intensely, its mist-forming patterns that reached into the minds of those aboard, filling them with courage, understanding, and the knowledge that the shadows and sentinels were not invincible. They could be engaged, recognized, and perhaps even influenced. Suddenly, the ancient vessel surged forward, not in attack but in observation, the void bending subtly as it moved, testing the pulse of humanity like a hand touching water. The awakened vessels shuddered in response, their engines straining to maintain formation, but Draven kept them steady through the Ark's connection, projecting focus and calm, guiding them as one entity. Mara's voice trembled slightly. "It's massive. It could crush every ship here in an instant." Draven shook his head slowly. "It doesn't want to destroy us. Not yet. It wants to know who we are." The memory sphere pulsed again, filling the Vanguard spear with visions of humans long ago, standing fearless against impossible odds, rising above fear and destruction, and Draven felt the same courage flowing through him now, connecting every awakened human in the sector. Outside, the ancient vessel hovered, scanning the fleet, its presence like a weight pressing on everything, yet it made no hostile move. The shadows that had lurked around the sector seemed to recede slightly, as if acknowledging the unity and strength of humanity for the first time in millennia. Draven realized then that they had reached a moment that no weapon, no fleet, no strategy could have achieved. Humanity was being recognized as more than a fragile species. It was being acknowledged as a force that could endure, that could survive, and that could awaken fully in a universe that had feared it for countless generations. He sent a pulse of awareness through the Ark and into the awakened ships, a message of calm and strength, and for the first time, he felt the ancient vessel respond, a faint vibration in the void, a subtle echo of recognition that went deeper than thought, reaching into the shared essence of all humans present. Rax stared at the readings, muttering that he could feel the energy shift, that the sentinel was now observing and waiting, not attacking, and that it seemed to be calculating, measuring humanity's potential. Mara took a deep breath. "Do you think it's impressed?" Draven allowed a small, tense smile. "No, it's aware. Awareness is more dangerous than awe. It means it's waiting to see what we do next." The vanguard spear pulsed again, the silver writing on its hull glowing as the Ark's energy intertwined with the memory sphere, and Draven felt a sudden rush of images. Humans across distant planets responding to the awakening, reconnecting with the spark inside them, ships activating, communities rebuilding, all drawn by the echo he had helped release. The ancient vessel shifted slightly, moving closer to observe, and for a moment, the void itself seemed alive, stretching and bending as if holding its breath. Then came a series of faint ripples, almost like whispers carried across space, and Draven understood that the awakening had consequences. They were no longer hidden, and everything in the sector, every ancient being in shadow, was now aware that humanity had returned. Mara's voice was quiet but urgent. "Commander, they're watching us. Not just the Sentinel, but everything in this region. Any sudden move could trigger a response." Draven nodded, feeling the truth of her words in his bones. They had survived the first tests, the encounters with shadows, and the awakening of the Ark, but the real challenge was beginning now. Humanity had been noticed, and the universe would respond in ways they could not predict. He reached out to the memory sphere, projecting calm and confidence, sending the pulse of life through the Ark, into the fleet, and outward to every hidden human vessel listening. Slowly, the ancient vessel adjusted its position, maintaining observation but giving them space, acknowledging their presence without aggression. Draven understood that the Sentinel was patient, far older than any human lifespan, and it could wait for humanity to make mistakes, to act recklessly, to awaken too quickly. But for now, it held back, giving them a chance to prove themselves, to rise, to survive. The shadows in the sector seemed to recede, slipping into hidden corners, though Draven knew they were not gone. They were watching, waiting for opportunities. Mara leaned closer to him. "What do we do now?" Draven exhaled slowly, feeling the pulse of the Ark and the sphere synchronizing with the fleet. "We guide them," he said. "We protect the awakening. We let humanity remember who it is, and we prepare for what comes next. We are no longer survivors. We are guardians." The ship pulsed one last time, silver light filling every corridor, every control panel, every mind aboard with a sense of purpose, courage, and vigilance. Outside, the void remained dark, silent, and full of watchers, but the awakened humans had a spark now, a chance to stand against anything, to survive, and to shape their destiny. Draven stared at the ancient vessel one last time, feeling its awareness like a weight and a promise, and whispered quietly, "We are ready. The universe will see what humanity truly is." And somewhere beyond the veil of stars, the shadows, the sentinels, and the echoes of ancient fear all waited, knowing that the reckoning had begun, and that humanity, long underestimated, had returned stronger, wiser, and unafraid.